Hello, everybody. Hello, Ewok. Um, I realize I'm a day late. Of course, as soon as I set for myself a deadline when I'm going to do something, I then miss it by a day because, that's the essence of procrastination, which is a fair portion of the essence of me. Okay, so today, per the Ewok's request, I am going to talk about this guy, Mr. Stephen Fry. Now, if you don't know who Stephen Fry is, he is a comedian, a public speaker, a humanitarian, a television show host, the voice of the UK audiobook version of the Harry Potter series, and many, many other things as well. To U.S. audiences, perhaps his most well-known role is that of the broadcaster who helps Natalie Portman's character in V for Vendetta, the man who has the secret room in his home that holds a copy of the Quran. Of course, that's a minor role, and he's done so much more. But that is in rough sketches who he is. But the who isn't really the focus of today. It's more the what. Specifically, what Stephen Fry has meant to me in my life. Now, the book that I just showed there is entitled "Moab is My Washpot," and it is I suppose now it's the first third of his memoirs. He also has the Fry Chronicles parts 1 and 2, I believe. But this is the one that I own in written format. I have the Fry Chronicles in audiobook. Curiously, also narrated by Stephen Fry. Anyway, so to me, reading about his life, particularly his young life, as is laid out in this memoir, I felt a curious kinship that is based almost entirely in the emotive side of things. The physical side, the particular actions are things with which I have little to no relation, but the emotion behind them, the response to the stimuli, have been really sort of trademarks of my own emotional pattern. And that, I think, is why I have connected as deeply to him, or at least to the concept of him that I've gleaned from numerous sources. Um, so, I guess, I've jokingly said that if I could have picked an adopted father, he would have been my first choice. Because with the really rather significant failure of my two earliest male role models being my biological father and my biological grandfather, and then following that with a fairly lackluster performance by my foster father before I was adopted, uh, I've been very hesitant to take on men as role models in my life. But Mr. Fry is curious in that regard because I cannot picture him seriously telling someone to act more manly or to do anything of that nature, having the context that it has for many people today. Uh, by contrast, his most frequent urging that I've encountered has been to has been not been has been to exhibit kindness towards others, and I find that to be a very admirable quality, and one which, when made a principal ambition of one's life, is it has so much more potential for reward than adhering to a particular role or stereotype. Um, it's to see your frustrations and uh, those by whom your frustrations are created, or at least to whom you assign them, to take those and to pull into yourself and say, you know, I could react in a certain way, but it's better to react with kindness. Is I mean, I have a number of friendships that have grown out of that, out of my taking my sort of cantankerous inclinations and subsuming them in an urge towards kindness, and found some very good and long-lasting friendships that way. But it's not just that I find admirable about him. That's a good life philosophy, a good teaching, especially for someone who has such a significant portion of the public eye in the UK, and a fair portion of Europe as well. But other things that I find compelling about him, he always encourages a push towards engaging one's curiosity. He is the host of a show called QI, which is short for Quite Interesting, which I think it's either in K or L series. Each series of it, series being the UK analog to season in the US. In each series of it, each episode is themed after a letter of the alphabet. So series A is, each episode has something to do with the letter A, and the quiz format is to bring forward things that the populace as a whole believes to be true, or at least believes to have some understanding of, and to explore them in greater depth, and also to take things about which we know little to nothing at all, and to bring them into the public eye. And I find that to be an incredibly, incredibly amazing mission in one's life, to teach people about everything that everything that you can encounter. I think that that's a really worthwhile thing. And in that respect, he comes across a lot like a father figure, where as a child you point and say, "What's that?" and your dad tells you, and "What's that?" and your dad tells you. Instead, Mr. Fry says, "Okay, what do you think this is?" And you tell him, and he says, "Well, actually, it's more complicated than that. It's this." And then your mind develops and takes in this new information. And I love that. I love the show. I love the format. I don't know how well. I think now it would have the potential for success in this country. I think as short as 5 years ago, it might not have. But I think there's a growing trend towards acquiring knowledge and satisfying one's curiosity. But aside from that, Mr. Fry has also done significant work in helping to combat AIDS in Uganda, in raising awareness of bipolar disorder, manic depression, and also endangered species on the verge of coming extinct. He has put so much into the public eye, and everything that he touches seems to exude this quality that allows you to connect to it. And I find that to be an astonishing thing. He is, therefore, in many ways, my principal male role model. Although I don't urge myself towards doing the things that he is doing or has done in his life. Nevertheless, the spirit behind it I find to be so motivating, and the results of its engagement so gratifying. And for those reasons, I really very nearly idolize him. And I guess, sometimes I let myself forget about that, forget about the people or concepts of people that have made me feel more than I am, or at least recognize the better within me. Um, and I will. I think next time I will talk more about this, about the struggle of trying to find role models and what my sometimes very strange role models have been in life. But for now, I will just say that I owe an incredible debt of gratitude to Mr. Fry, not only for all of the sort of um, I suppose psychological things, for want of a better word, that he's helped me to overcome, but also just broadly for the entertainment that he's brought and the awareness of things in the world. I mean, even the existence of P.G. Woodhouse's Jeeves stories were first made known to me through his representation of the butler Jeeves and his friend Hugh Laurie's representation of Bertie Wooster in the series Jeeves and Wooster. And I guess, every aspect of my life since I've found joy in it has at some point a link to Mr. Fry, among others, and I will go into them next time. So anyway, that is a fairly long video, I think it is. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut it short here. I encourage you to exhibit kindness in your life towards everybody. And I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that today. So take care. Adios.